Hello, welcome to the tutorial on how to use a laser engraver. Today we're going to prepare a basic keychain. We'll show you how to design it, how to send it to that below laser engraver, and then we'll talk about some of the settings so we can send it out to the actual laser. So I'm going to be using CorelDRAW, the 2016 edition. We also have the 2025, but if you'd like to, you can also use Inkscape, especially if you want to design something at home. Inkscape is a free software that you can download and prepare your design. If you want to make things easier, you can also use Canva. You can design something on Canva and then use that for the laser engraver, for the vinyl cutter, and for the CNC to some extent. So we're going to go ahead and just open up CorelDRAW. So we'll double click on it. And I'm going to click on New Document. So here on New Document, we can start with this up here on the top left. You can see that it says 7x7. This is the measurement of our page or the material that we're going to be using. So I know that we are going to be using a 3x3 inch piece of wood. And so here's our little square. If you're not worried about centering something, aligning it, making sure that it's a certain size, you don't have to worry about this. You can just use the camera to align it, position it wherever you want, and then send it out. But I know that it's a 3-inch by 3-inch piece of wood, so I'm going to go ahead and adjust that just so I'm aware of the space that I actually have to work with. So I already have our logo copied. We're going to make a little keychain, so we're going to go ahead and just paste it and scale it down just so it can fit within our material. Scale it down a little bit more. There we go. That's a decent size. So for the laser, whenever it engraves, it can pick up on gradients and contrast. So anything with a dark, solid fill, anything with a color is going to want to engrave. Your black is going to be a little bit darker than your yellow. Just because it's a lighter color, it's not going to really apply full power. So there is going to be a little bit of a gradient, a little bit of a difference, which is nice because you can engrave photographs a little bit easier. You might have to change a little bit of the contrast, brightness, and intensity, but photographs are definitely possible. So here is our image that we want to engrave. We're good with that. We don't have to do anything else. So we're going to go ahead and add a cut line. So on the far left side, we're going to use one of these shapes. So I'm going to go to the rectangle tool and make a rectangle around our logo. So as I was saying, anything with a dark solid fill or color we'll want to engrave. Same thing for the lines. If the lines are 0.3 points and higher, basically this weight of the line is how thick your line is. If you choose hairline, this line is going to be thin enough for the laser to know exactly where the route is to follow in order to cut it out. So we're going to make sure that our rectangle is set to hairline. So part 1 is done. Let's go ahead and add a little key ring. So we'll do the ellipse tool, make a circle right here, and then we're going to make another little circle to allow the key ring to go in there. And again, these two circles are set to 0.5. And so if we were to send this out to the engraver, it would think that we want to engrave it. So we're going to go ahead and click on the weight of the line, which is this little pen icon, and we're going to choose hairline. And so now it knows how to cut it out. Here we see these overlapping circles and lines. So they are actually going to cut all the way through, which is going to mess up our design. So one of the very handy features is the virtual segment tool, virtual segment delete. So with this tool can be found under the crop, kind of like subcategories. What it does is, let's make a quick little puzzle piece. So any lines that are intersecting or overlapping, you can delete by either clicking on them or by dragging them. So let me show you real quick. So let's make a quick puzzle piece. We can click directly on top of this line and it'll delete it. Same thing if we just click and hold, swipe through, and we can make some quick edits that way. So we're going to do that by eliminating this line that goes all the way through, part of this circle. There we go. So I deleted the unnecessary lines that would mess up my keychain or my keyring. And there we go. So we have it adjusted. So just to recap the basics, a solid fill will want to engrave. Any line that is set to hairline will want to automatically cut. So let's go ahead and just click on File, print and send it out to the laser. So right here, it's telling you that the printer is going to be that long engraver. We just click on print and we can send it out. You might hear the laser running in the background, so I just went ahead and turned it on. So before the camera turns on, all of this polka dotted area is a paint mask. So let's say that we just wanted to see a little preview. Maybe I'm not ready to engrave this library part. I don't want to waste time or my material. So if you hide anything within the polka dotted area will be ignored. So we can grab any of these edges, hide parts that we don't want to interact with. And so right now, all it will do is engrave this Tulsa City County part of the design. So that is a handy feature in case you wanted to test something out or just kind of work on a specific section of your job. Okay, so on the far right side, we see that we have two process types. We have our engrave and we also have our vector. Vector is what they call the cuts. So if we click on either of them, we can see that we can apply some settings. You can reference the manual. The manual would have a bunch of recommendations that you can follow for the specific material that you're using. And if you are checking the manual, we have a 50-watt laser, so make sure you apply those settings to it so it can be more relevant to your job. Thankfully, most of the popular materials are actually in here for you. So at the very top right, over here, there's this little import folder icon that is called Import Material Settings. If we click on that, most of them are in here for you, like I said. So we're going to go ahead and scroll down and choose wood. You can do a photo for a photo engraving, 300 dpi for something that has basic text or quality. If you have a lot of details or intricate small parts of the design, you can do the 500 dpi. The dpi is your dots per inch or your resolution. So the higher that it is, the more quality or smaller details that you'll be able to engrave. But there is a limit. And then deep engrave is like a 500 dpi, but it's a slower burn. Just so if you want to make it a little bit deeper or maybe darker. So it's just going to burn away more material. Let's go ahead and do deep engrave. Click on import. And then over here, you can see the resolution. Actually, I lied. The resolution is at 300. But the resolution is at 300, which means that there are less dots next to each other, which is going to make your runtime faster. So if we did the 500 dpi, you can notice that instead of 29 seconds up here, it's 46 seconds. So depending on how detailed your design is or how big it is, it might really make a difference and you might want to slow it down or adjust your times. So we're going to keep it at 300 because 300 should be enough for us to get the details that we want in here. The next thing is the speed. So whenever you engrave, the speed is the speed that it's engraving from left to right. So it's just going to go back and forth, kind of like a printer. If you reduce the speed, it's going to spend more time burning the material. So it's applying more power and it might be darker or go, you can have darker results depending on the material. If you speed up this speed setting at 100%, it's going to go as fast as possible. And you're going to have a lighter burn just because the material is not being exposed to that laser as much time as if you had it slower. The power, it's a percentage of the 50 watts that are available. So with this one, you'll be able to kind of like tell the difference once you get some more playtime with the laser. But basically, the higher the power, the stronger the burn. You reduce that power, and it's going to be a little bit of a lighter burn. So that's what that is. I forgot what it was on, so let me just go back into the deep engrave. No, it was at 100. So this next section, this dithering is a mechanical pattern that the laser will see by default, which scatters those dots so it can map them out on your job, on your material that you're using. So there are different materials or different patterns that you can choose. You can reference the manual to see how these interact with your image and with your material. But for right now, we can just leave it as standard. But depending on which one you choose it might feather your colors a little bit better. It might blend them. It might make parts darker. So you can definitely bring some test material to test it out to see what the difference is and if there is one that you prefer over the other. But they do have some recommendations specifically for what they're for. The cycles, it's kind of what it sounds like. But the cycles, if you increase the amount, as soon as it's done engraving, it will come back up to the very top and then engrave again in case you wanted to run another pass just to make it deeper or darker again. This air assist is an optional setting that you can include for engraving. It's optional for engraving. I would definitely recommend to keep it on for the cutting, but we'll get to that part here in a second. But for the air assist, basically it will shoot some compressed air out of the same nozzle where the laser is coming out of. The reason for that is to keep your area clean so you can blow away any debris so you're not remelting it or burning it into your material. So it just kind of keeps your area clear of any debris. It also helps to cool down the material. It also helps to prevent any flare-ups. So depending on the material that you're using, sometimes there might be a little bit of fire that shoots up. The air assist is there to kind of like put it out real quick. So that is what that's for. My settings for the engrave are all done. I like these. Let's go ahead and click on vector. So with vector is what they are calling the cuts. The vector settings have speed, power, just like the engrave, but it also introduces frequency. So the frequency is the frequency that the laser will be pulsing as it's traveling on its route. So with the frequency, if you increase it to 100%, that would be more useful for acrylic. So with acrylic, it needs enough intensity and heat to melt all the way through that plastic. So you would increase it to 100%. If you were using paper, cardboard, wood, or fabrics, you would decrease it. Typically, it's at 10%, which will reduce the heat that it's generating and will cause less scorch. Also, just so it doesn't burst into flames. So the frequency kind of controls the temperature. Let's go ahead and click on this import setting and choose an 1/8 of an inch because that's what we're cutting. Again, if it doesn't cut all the way through on your 1/8 of an inch once, you can either choose 1/4 of an inch or you can run the cycles twice. So let's do that. Let's run cutting at 1/8 of an inch. Actually, let's just overpower it and go with 1/4 real quick. So those are our basic settings and we're ready to print. So we can just click on print down here on the bottom right. And really quick, just like I was saying, that if you don't really care about measuring your material, you just want to throw something in there and align it just by eyeballing it, you can also get these paint masks out of the way, grab your design, place it wherever you need to place it. You can also scale it, rotate it, and then once you're happy with where it is, you can click on print. But I already have it at the very top left. I'm going to click on print, and now we can move on to the laser so we can talk about how to calibrate that. So now that you've sent your job to the laser engraver, it's going to be held for you right here. If you click on the little hamburger, it's going to show you a list of all the jobs that you have available. So in order to start, we first have to focus the laser. So the laser has to be at a certain distance away from the material from the lens. Otherwise, it's not going to be accurate and it might be fuzzy because it hasn't been focused enough. If it's too far away from your material, it might lose power as it travels. And so to adjust the focus, we're going to click on this up and down arrow. That's the focus menu. If you want to, you can use this nudge to move it by 0.005 inches at a time, or we can use the analog to raise and lower the bed just to focus the laser. The other thing that we can do is we can click on this middle icon. That will show you a visible beam so you know that where the laser is landing. If you've already sent a job to the laser engraver, we can activate this last square and it will show you the very outer parameters of where your design is so you can make sure that it's going to fall in within your design, it's centered, whatever. If you need to move the gantry to focus the laser somewhere else, you can click on this little joystick looking icon. With that one, you can then use the joystick, move it around, take it to where your material is, focus the laser, and then you can focus it and send it back. Once you're done focusing, you can click on Park Axis, and it moves back. So with that, we can go ahead and just click on the blue play button, and we can start our job.